Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Willingness Wednesday. Hi, I am your coach, B.Von Squires, and today we are sponsored by Spirit Source Connection. I am so excited about being here today. Of course, you guys know every week I look forward to coming here on Wednesdays because I know I'm going to see you and I get a chance to communicate and talk to you and share all kinds of wonderful knowledge and information that's going to broaden you out, right? So before I go any further, I just want to say if you are new, welcome, welcome, welcome. You are welcome in this place. It is safe for you here. And I thank you for joining me tonight. And if I hope that you hear something that is going to inspire you to come back again next week. And if you do, I hope that you share, like, and subscribe so that you can always be notified anytime a video is going to come up. And they're usually like every Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. And if you are returning, you know I could not do this without you. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be your coach. Thank you for coming back each week to support me and to hear these wonderful information that I have to share with you. And I hope that it's really making a difference in your life because I know it sure is in mine. And we embarked on a series called The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. And oh my goodness, it has been so amazing learning about all of these agreements and how we set ourselves up for failure, basically self sabotage because we don't know any better. And so that's where I come in because I like to talk about things here that you're not going to hear in normal everyday dinner conversation. You're not going to hear this in school, although you should, and I wish I could have, but that's not where you're going to find this information. You have to come here on Wednesdays so I can tell you all about how you are a multidimensional spiritual being and that you do have supernatural power. You have the ability to exist in the spiritual realm as well as the material realm. But you may not know that, but just keep coming back here every week and I'll make a believer out of you. Okay, so with no further ado, I'm going to just jump on in and get to started talking about today's third agreement called Don't Make Assumptions. I know I have made assumptions over my life. How about you? I've got some examples that I'm going to share with you of what making an assumption looks like, okay? All right, so the third agreement is don't make assumptions. We have the tendency as human beings to make assumptions about everything and everyone. The problem with making those assumptions, though, is that we actually believe these lies that we're telling ourselves. So we make assumptions about what others are doing, what others are thinking, what they think of us. All sorts of assumptions are made throughout the day. And so this is a good one. How about this one? I know she doesn't like me. Now, this is just an assumption. She hasn't said she doesn't like you. There's just no real truth to this, but for some reason, you think this person doesn't like you. And so you set up this assumption. You assume she doesn't like you or he doesn't like you. And so then the part that is really, really scary is that not only do you believe it, now you try to justify it with further assumptions. Okay, so you cook up this assumption in your mind about someone. You tell yourself something adverse about them. They don't like you, whatever the case may be. Okay, you believe it. Now you take it personally. And now you want to get back at them. And so now you start spreading your word through gossip. Oh my goodness. You start gossiping to anyone who's willing to accept that emotional poison that you have to give. And so whenever you make assumptions, you're always looking for more problems. So all the sadness, let's see if you can relate to this or if this is a true statement for you. I know for me, I read this statement and it was true for me. All the sadness and drama that I have encountered in my life was due to me making assumptions and taking things personally. Is that a fair assumption? I know. Take a moment to consider this. This is really, an opportunity to get honest with yourself. We can't grow if we can't get honest with ourselves first, right? And so I have been guilty of making assumptions. And so when I get to the examples, I'll tell you which assumption example actually fits me. Okay? All right. So Because we're afraid to ask for clarification, we will assume things and believe we're right about the assumption. And then we defend that right to be right about that assumption and try to make someone else wrong, right? And so, or either we try to help them to see it from our personal perspective. But we have to remember that everyone has their own personal domestication. Everyone has their own dream that they're living in. Everyone has their own bubble that they're walking around in, and nobody really has time to consider themselves with what is going on in your bubble. Don't forget that part, okay? Because when we make assumptions and we cook up these little scenarios in our heads, that's where they actually are. They're in our minds. The other person doesn't even realize that we're making these assumptions and cooking up all these little stories in our minds. This is just in our mind. Because, see, we have to have, as humans, we have the need to know. I want to know. I want to know what's happening. I want to know what's coming. I want to know what's happening over there, over there. And it's all based on fear. Fear, because I don't feel safe unless I have all the answers. Fear, because I don't have a God to trust in my life. And I feel like I have to know everything so that I can make everything run smoothly in my life. But I want to tell you that when you are focused on your goals and when you are coming from a place of gratitude and of love, you have no reason to fear. There is nothing to fear. And you don't need to go around making assumptions. You can access the courage that you have and go ahead and ask the questions that you want to know. I know sometimes I'd be like, I don't want them to know that I want to know that. So I'm not going to ask. And sometimes I'd be okay with making the assumption, oh, well, I'm just too busy to call. And you know what? I think it's because of this, that, and the other. That is an assumption that I was making, right? Those are the assumptions and the lies. And so that's what we definitely want to help you stay away from. So you don't have to have that conflict on the inside of you. Because generally, when we believe an assumption, that which is a lie, and we start making all these stories up and concocting all of these scenarios, it's just coming from a place that is not healthy. And so, quite naturally, we're going to have some conflicts going on the inside. All right, so here come the examples I was telling you about, okay? All right, so you decide to get married. All right, no, that's not the one. Hold on. Well, that's one of them. I guess I could go ahead and start with that one. You decide to get married. And the person that you're going to marry, their idea of marriage is not the same idea that you have. But you don't know this at first because you assume, you made an assumption that this person has to have the same idea of marriage you are. But I want to tell you, it doesn't matter whether you are born in the same race, whether you are the same age, even the same sex. I'm telling you, people's personal domestication is different. People make assumptions and they are usually way off base. And so I want to help you to understand not to do that. Okay, so here are these two people. They get married. They have different ideas about what marriage is. So the husband comes home one day and the wife is really angry. And he's like, wonder what that's all about. Well, it's because she made an assumption that she had something that he should do, but she never told him what she wanted. She never expressed verbally what her intentions or her expectations were. But when he did not follow through with what she assumed he knew, because of course he knows me so well. How romantic, right? It's romantic until he doesn't do what you want him to do. Woo! I'm laughing from identification because this is the one I identify with the most. Expecting people to know what I need without asking for it. Expecting people to be able to read my mind. That is just not fair, and it is definitely unrealistic to expect someone to know this. However, if these people could communicate in a way that says, I want this, you want that, let's work together to make it happen, then they can be successful. That's all it takes is a little courage. A little communication goes a long way, right? All right. So we talked earlier about how we need to know everything because we are afraid, because we don't feel safe. Okay. Now, if others tell us something, we make assumptions. And if they don't tell us something, we make assumptions to fulfill our need to know and to replace the need to communicate. That part's kind of sad because I really like communicating. And I know we've gotten so far away from communicating because our bubbles have gotten so full. Our individual, dreams that we have for ourselves are so full that sometimes we just don't have time to communicate with others. It's really sad, but it's just true. It's just the reality. Okay. And so we make all sorts of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask the questions. And these are assumptions are made so fast. Sometimes they happen so quickly. It's like subconsciously. And you know what? This week, as a matter of fact, I found myself making assumptions, and I was really shocked when I became aware of it. I was like, whoa, I am making an assumption. But before going through this series, I had no idea about assumptions and how dangerous they can be. Okay. And so the reason that we have the fear of being ourselves is because we make the assumption that everyone sees things the way that we do. We assume that others think the way that we do, that others feel the way that we do. We think that others judge the way that we do, and that others also abuse the way that we do. And so that's the reason why it's so hard for us to be our authentic selves, because there's something in the back of our mind that tells us, you know what? I'm not living up to that dream of perfection that I have. And I know if someone else finds out about it, they're not going to like me. They are not going to like who I am. And so that's why it's so hard for us to be our authentic selves, because we assume that others are going to judge us as harshly as we judge ourselves. And see, that's the part that is really painful, is knowing that, hey, I'm judging myself over here, and now I'm thinking that everyone's going to judge me. So I don't let anyone in. I don't allow myself to be my true authentic self. And so people don't get the benefit of knowing who I really am. So there they go. They're going to start assuming. They're going to start assuming because they don't have the knowledge and information about me or you that they would like to have. And instead of coming to ask us questions, they just go assuming. And so we want to stop that assuming, right? So now this is one of the most major assumptions that we've made. Tell me if you've ever made this one. Oh, I know he's not the best right now, or I know she's not marriage material, but I am going to love them so much that I make them change. I'm going to change them with my love. Let me stop you right there. That is not going to happen. That is just not going to happen, because if, number one, if you love the person, you're not going to want to change them, number one. And it's easier to go find someone that you actually like than trying to change someone that you don't completely agree with who they are. You're not going to change anyone. No one changes another person. The individual must find the reason to change within themselves. It cannot come from another person. You cannot change another individual. You cannot love them enough. You cannot cater to them enough. You cannot buy them enough to change them. It has to come from within. So I want to help you not to make that painful assumption, because so many people have, moved into relationships with the assumption that they're going to be able to change the individual, or have a baby in the assumption that it's going to make the marriage better. These are painful, wrong assumptions to make for your life. And so just want to let you guys know that, right? Now, here we go. I'm going to tell you the one way. Okay. One way to keep yourself from making assumptions is to ask questions. Make sure communication is clear. If you don't understand, have the courage to ask questions, and ask enough questions until you do understand. Make sure you walk away with a clear understanding so that you don't have to assume. And then there you go. Once you ask the question, you get the answer. And it's not up to you whether it's the truth or not. You get an answer. And so now you don't have to make assumptions, because you actually got the truth from someone. Okay? So by making this one agreement habit, okay? Make this agreement a habit in your life, and you will be completely transformed. I'm telling you. What you need comes easily, because you're now vibrating from a spirit or an energy force of gratitude and love, as opposed to fear and lies. And this right here is the path to personal freedom. And so there you go, guys. This is the third agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz. I had just really enjoyed bringing this information to you tonight. And just as we did last week, we pulled a card for the second agreement, which was don't take things personally. And so tonight I have another card for you. I already picked it out. Let me grab my glasses so I can read it for you. Where are they? I just had them. Oh, there they go. Sorry. Okay, so here we go. It says, don't make assumptions. Say goodbye to sadness and drama. When you don't make assumptions, you don't have to live with sadness and drama. You see that? Okay. Now let's read the back of it for you. It says, all the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. The whole world of control between human is based on that. Take a moment and consider this. Take a moment and consider that all the drama and sadness in your life is because somehow you have made an assumption about something or someone, even about yourself, because a lot of times we don't really know who we are, because a lot of times we don't want to do the work and all that digging and all that painful digging on the inside. And then sometimes it's because we don't know who to call. And so I want to help you understand that I'm here for you. And if you want to help yourself by learning about these agreements, I would love it if you would call me. My number is 317-721-4315, or you can reach me by emailing b.von Squires@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for meeting me here tonight. And I really, really appreciate you being here. And I'm going to pray that God will bless you so good, real good this week. And if you are manifesting for anything, I'm sending you my positive energy to combine with your positive energy so that you can go ahead and manifest that thing on down here in your personal reality. I love you so much, and thank you for allowing me to be your coach. And I will see you next week right here on Willingness Wednesday, next Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. All right, guys, I love you. Have a great evening.